Hello everyone. Last time we have explained about habit, habitat and cultural aspects of the three freshwater forms or the fishes such as Labio, Katla and Mrugala. Today we are going to explain the collective explanation regarding the culture methods or construction, management and maintenance of the freshwater ponds so as to culture or so as to grow the Labio, Katla and Mrugala uh, in the freshwater pond or in the fish farm. A fish culturist or the fish farmer needs different type of ponds for rearing various stages of the fishes and has to decide on the layout of his farm and its extent. The design of fish farm of the fishes and the number and size of the ponds depends on the species of the fish to be cultured. The primary requirement in constructing a fish farm is the site or a place of the fish farm, which has to be selected on the basis of soil, water supply and the drainage. So, while the fish culture or pisciculture practice, pond culture practice, so as to culture the Labio, Katla and Mrugala, the fish farmer has to think over or a fish farmer requires different type of ponds for rearing of the various stages of the fishes, and thus he has to think or he has to decide on the layout of the fish farm and its extent or that is a number. The design of the fish farm of the fishes and the number and size of the ponds depends on the species of the fish to be cultured. The primary requirement in constructing a fish farm is the site or a location which has to be selected on the basis of soil type, water supply and the drainage. Following description explains the method and construction of culture of freshwater fishes, namely Labio, Katla and Murugala. So first we'll explain about the location of the fish farm. So first important point, while performing fishery practice or the pond culture, so as to culture these three freshwater carps or the major carps, Rohu, Katla and Mrugal, one has to think over first on to the location of the fish farm. So first we will explain the location of the fish farm or the requirements of the location of the fish farm. Good success in fish farming and economy of the construction of the fish farm would depend on a selection of suitable site for them. Good success in a fish farming and economy of the construction of the fish farm, good success in a fish farming, good success in a fish farming and economy of the construction of the fish farm would depend on the selection of suitable site for the farm. The main factors are topography, soil type and the water supply. The main factors which should be considered properly while selecting the site to construct the fish farm are topography, soil type and third one that is water supply. Now first we will explain about the topography. Topography means the surface feature of the area and is important for both construction and for future maintenance of the fish farm. The ideal topography of the fish farm site, gently sloping terrain of terrain type with a wide valley or a bowl-shaped area with high lands on three sides and narrow outlet on the fourth side. So topography means the surface feature or surface characteristic of the area or the land and is important for both construction and the future maintenance of the fish farm. The ideal topography of the fish farm site, gently sloping terrain type with a wide valley or a bowl shaped area with a highlands on the three sides and a narrow outlet on the fourth side. Such a place can be chosen for constructing the fish farm. Such a place can be chosen or selected for constructing the fish farm, provided the desirable type of soil and water supply is available. Such a place can be chosen for constructing the fish farm, provided the desirable type of soil and water supply is available. Such an area can be easily converted into a large pond by erecting or constructing an embankment or bunds for closing the outlet. Dressing up the bottom, filling up the bottom or dressing up the bottom to bring it to a uniform depth and sealing the bottom to prevent leakage may be necessary. Construction plan should have provision for handling normal flow of water and also for complete drainage. Construction plan should have the provision for handling a normal flow or supply of water in a different ponds and also for the complete drainage or the removal of the water from all the ponds. Then second factor for the selection site is soil type. The soil must be impervious or non-porous or may be thick or a deep soil. The soil must be impervious or non-porous, as it should not allow any seepage or percolation or the seepage or leakage of the water through the soil from the pond. The soil must be impervious or non-porous or clayey. Soil should be clayey uh, without perforations or which will not allow the seepage or leakage or the percolation of the water through the base or through the bottom of the pond. The soil must be impervious, non-porous, as it should not allow any seepage or leakage or percolation. Rocky limestone soil, rocky limestone soil or sandy soil should be avoided. Normally, heavy clay and silty clay means fine soil particles or a black soil, heavy clay and silty clay are suitable because such areas store water for long period. Such area or such soil uh, is suitable because such areas store water for long periods. Porous soil is unsuitable for constructing stocking ponds. Porous soil is unsuitable for constructing stocking ponds, but nursery and rearing ponds can be constructed in a porous soil. But nursery and rearing ponds can be constructed in a porous soil as they are required to store for short period, as they are required to store water for short period of time during only the development of the young ones or the fingerlings uh, to a definite size. They are kept in a nursery or rearing pond, but in a stocking pond the livestock or the fishes are kept or allowed to grow for a couple of years or throughout a year or maybe 2 or 3 years may be kept or allowed to grow in a stocking pond, and thus stocking pond should be constructed in a area or the soil which should be heavy clay or silty clay or deep soil or a fine soil particle which will not allow any seepage through the soil or through the bottom, and thus nursery ponds or rearing ponds can be constructed in a porous soil or a loam soil. For this purpose, the bottom of the porous soil be treated with a clay or suitable soil sealant. If the land or area with a porous land, if the location or the site for the construction of the fish farm is porous or loam soil or a rocky, then we'll have to treat the soil, or we'll have to treat the bottom of the pond or the fish farm with a clay or suitable soil sealant, so as to make sure the water will be retained, stored water will be retained throughout the air in the respective pond. So, suitable soil sealant can be used in the bottom of the land, which is with a porous soil. So, for this, the bottom of the porous soil can be treated with a clay or a suitable soil sealant, so as to avoid the water loss. Then third point, that is water supply. Adequate supply of water is an important requisite. Adequate water supply, adequate water supply is an important requirement or a need for site selection. The dependable sources of the water are the dependable sources of water supply are lake and reservoirs, springs, rivers, dams, streams, canals, surface runoff, wells, etc. So these are the several different small and large freshwater resources which could be used to fill up the pond of the fish farm, or which can be used for the supply of water, regular supply of the water in the ponds of the fish farm. And these small and large fish water resources, they are lake and reservoirs, springs, rivers, dams, streams, canals, surface runoff, or even the wells can also be used for the filling of the ponds in the fish farm. So, water supply should be adequate. There should be adequate supply of water, and is an important requirement for the site selection. The dependable sources of the water supply are lake and reservoirs, springs, rivers, dams, streams, canals, surface runoff, and the wells. So these are the several freshwater resources, small and large, can be used for the regular water supply to the fish farm. Dam provides the cheapest water for the fish farm. Dams provide the cheapest water for the fish farm. Good springs do not dry in summer and form a dependable source of water. Streams, rivulets, and canals are also satisfactory source of water, provided the flow of water enough to fill up the ponds. A constant water level is maintained only little salt is carried out so that clear water is available during the rainy season. So, dams which are providing the cheapest water supply to the fish farm, and good springs do not dry in a summer and form a dependable source of water. If the springs which do not dry in a summer, this can be a dependable source of water for the fish farm. Then streams, rivulets, and canals are also satisfactory source of water, provided the flow is enough to fill the ponds. A constant water level is maintained and only a little silt or a soil is carried so that clear water is available during the rainy season. Then this is about the site. This is about the site location or site of a fish farm with respect to the three features or the factors while selecting the site. While selecting the site for the construction of the fish farm, these are the three important factors which should be considered optimally. That is topography, then soil type, and the water supply. So these are the three important factors, main factors, and which should be considered, and that should satisfy the requirement of the fish farm while selection of the site for the construction of the fish farm. Then second point, that is layout of the fish farm. Layout of the fish farm, that is plan to construct plan to construct the fish farm or the various type of ponds in the fish farm. Sorry. The layout plans for the location, design and number of various type of ponds be drawn before starting the construction. So while uh, beginning the construction of the fish farm, the layout plan for the construction of the fish farm should be drawn or should be considered, should be decided or drawn properly. The layout plans, the location, then design and the number of various type of ponds be drawn before starting the construction. For subsistence fishing, subsistence fishing or for continuous production of the fish supply, for continuous or regular fish production or supply, only a small farm of 0.04 hectare is enough. But for commercial and experimental farms, larger areas are required for constructing nursery, rearing, stocking, and breeding ponds. So, for subsistence fishing or a small scale fishing, only a small fish farm with a 0.04 hectare area is enough. But for commercial and experimental farms, larger areas are required for constructing nursery ponds, rearing ponds, stocking ponds, and the breeding ponds. Various farm buildings like laboratory, storehouse, watchman's hut, the residential quarters, etc., are also to be constructed. So, various farm buildings along with the different type of ponds like laboratory, storehouse, watchman hut, the residential quarters, etc., are also to be constructed. A fish farm consisting of 4 to 5 type of ponds. A fish farm consisting of 4 to 5 type of ponds, each for a specific purpose, specific purpose or a stage of growing fish, such as hatching pits, nursery ponds, rearing ponds, and the stocking ponds. So these are the four important type of ponds should be constructed while the pond culture or the fishery practice. So a fish farm consists of 4 to 5 type of ponds, and each type of pond is for a specific purpose or for a specific stage of the growing fish or cultured fish, such as hatching pits, nursery ponds, rearing ponds, and the stocking ponds. Now, we'll explain all the different type of ponds with respect to their size and number one by one. So, first is hatching pits. Small tanks, usually of 8 by 4 by 2 feet, are used for hatching fertilized eggs and are located near the riverine collection grounds. A continuous but slow flowing water desirable for aerating the eggs. A smaller cloth tank called as hapa of 6 feet by 3 feet by 1.5 feet of a cheap coarse cloth and a mosquito curtain, both cloth is fixed up or it can also be used. So hatching pits are having a size. Hatching pits are small tanks or the ponds, usually with a size of 8 feet length, 4 feet wide, and 2 feet deep, are used for hatching fertilized eggs and are located near the riverine collection grounds. So from where the fish seed could be collected, or the water which is flowing into the fish farm, uh, that could supply the regular water or the flow in the different type of ponds. So small tanks usually 8 by 4 by 2 feet, 8 foot length, 8 feet length, 4 feet width, and 2 feet deep, are used for hatching fertilized eggs and are located near the riverine collection grounds. A continuous but slow flowing water, a continuous but slow flowing water desirable for aerating the eggs. A small cloth tank called as hapa, that is 6 by 3 by 1.5 dimension of cheap coarse cloth and a mosquito curtain cloth can be used. Then second type of pond, that is nursery pond. These ponds are somewhat larger with a size of 50 feet by 50 feet by 4 feet deep. 50 feet in length, 50 feet width, and 4 feet deep, and may be seasonal, so that they dry up during summer, and this helps in eradication of the fish enemies and in increasing the productivity. So nursery ponds are having size of 50 by 50 feet, that is length and width, and 4 feet deep, and this may be seasonal, and it may be seasonal because these could dry up during the summer, and this helps in eradication of the fish enemies, and this will also increase the productivity. Then third type of pond, that is rearing ponds. These ponds may be seasonal or perennial, and again they are of somewhat larger size. So rearing ponds may be seasonal or perennial and are used for rearing advanced fry or fingerlings for 2 to 3 months. So in nursery ponds, the young ones may be grown only for a period of month only. But in nursery rearing pond, the fishes are grown or cultured for period of 2 to 3 months. So rearing ponds are either seasonal ponds or the perennial. Seasonal means they may have water for a definite period or a certain period of the year, or a perennial means the water may available in these ponds throughout the year. That is a persistent or the perennial ponds, and are used for rearing advanced fry, that is seedlings or fingerlings, which are grown with a length of about a feet, and where they are allowed to grow for 2 to 3 months. These ponds are made from these ponds are made long and narrow. So rearing ponds are usually long and narrow with a gentle slope to facilitate netting, and they are of about 4 feet deep. They are about 4 feet deep, and the length of these ponds may be up to 300 feet. The length of the rearing ponds may up to 300 feet with a different size. They are narrow and long, and with a depth of 4 feet, and with a gentle slope to facilitate netting, and where the fingerlings or the advanced fries are grown for the period of 2 to 3 months in the rearing pond. And last one, that is the fourth type of pond, that is stocking ponds. These are fairly large and perennial tanks. Stocking ponds or the uh, permanent stocking tanks or the stocking ponds. Stocking ponds or the stocking tanks. These are fairly large, perennial, more than 6 feet deep, more than 6 feet deep, and they are long, more than 300, more than 300 feet in a length, and are so constructed as to facilitate netting. Means these are again similar to rearing ponds, but the width, length, and the depth of the stocking pond is more than that of the rearing ponds. Nursery ponds or the rearing ponds, they are about 4 feet deep, but the stocking ponds, they are having length more than 300 feet and with a depth of 6 feet, and they are perennial, means they retain water or they can have water stored for the period of complete year. So throughout the year water remains in the stocking pond so as to allow the optimum or the normal growth of the growing fishes in the stocking ponds, and uh, so as to allow them to grow for one, two, or more number of years in the stocking ponds. And thus, stocking ponds are fairly large perennial tanks with a depth of 6 feet or more than 6 feet depth, and they are long more than 300 or more, and are constructed as to facilitate netting. So rearing ponds are having length of less than 300, and the stocking ponds having length more than 300. Besides the above, a few marketing ponds may also be provided in a farm, keeping fish ready for the market. Besides the hatchery pit or hatchery tanks, nursery ponds or tanks, rearing tanks or stocking tanks, the marketing tanks or some marketing ponds may also be constructed or provided in a farm, keeping fish ready for the market. For pond breeding species, for pond breeding species, a couple of breeding ponds are also necessary. For pond breeding species, a couple of breeding tanks or the breeding ponds are also necessary or are also to be constructed in the fish farm. And for this one or two marketing ponds, and for this one or two marketing ponds can be converted into breeding ponds. So marketing ponds side by side can be used for the breeding purpose. Various ponds can be arranged in one or more rows in a farm. Various type of ponds can be constructed or arranged in one or more rows in a farm with a space of 4 to 5 feet between the ponds. So various type of ponds which are constructed with a definite size, either hatching pits, then nursery pits, or nursery ponds, then rearing ponds, which are constructed or arranged in a series or in a rows of one pond or two pond. So one row or the two row or the more number of rows of the ponds of a specific size in a farm are constructed with a distance of 4 to 5 between the each pond. 4 to 5 feet between each pond. So various ponds can be arranged in one or more rows in a farm with a space of 4 to 5 feet between the ponds. Long, narrow, and deeper ponds are better than smaller ones. Long, narrow, and deeper ponds are better than smaller ponds. The inlet pipe should be 6 to 8 inch above the water level and provided with some kind of screen to prevent the entrance of wild fish and escape of fish from the pond. So each of the pond, when filled up with the water, there should be inlet pipe or the outlet pipe of each of the pond. The inlet pipe and outlet pipe of the each of the pond should be 6 to 8 inch above, 6 to 8 inch above the water level, and provided with some kind of screen to prevent the entrance of the wild fish or the wild animals and escape of fish from the pond. So the fish should not escape from the respective pond, and the wild fish or the certain enemies should not enter the pond through the inlet pipe. So there should be a screen with a screen or a mesh of definite size should be provided with a inlet pipe. So the inlet pipe should be 6 to 8 inch above the water level and should be provided with some kind of screen or the mesh to prevent the entrance of the wild fish or the enemies and also escape of the fish from the pond. A fencing or a compound, a fencing a fencing of a pond to keep away the cattle is also necessary. So the entire fish farm consisting of different type of ponds in a varied number. So total area of the fish farm consisting of different type of ponds in the fish farm should be covered or enclosed by by preparing a fencing of the entire fish farm to keep away the cattle and other animal into the fish farm. So a fencing or a compound or a protective wall compound or the iron mesh net can also be used for preparation of the fencing. So fencing the pond or fish farm to keep away cattle is also necessary. So fencing of the fish farm should also be prepared around the entire area of the fish farm so as to avoid the entry of undesired animals like cattle. Then this is the diagram showing ideal plan of a fish farm. Ideal plan of the fish farm. Now this diagram shows a spherical large main tank or a stocking tank. There is a one large main tank or the stocking tank having depth more than other tanks or the ponds, and this main tank, which is prepared in a central position of the fish farm, called as a main tank or the stocking tank or the pond, which is of a much larger size, and into which the water is drawn through the water supply from the water supply. So there is a inlet water pipe. There is a water inlet into the main tank or the stocking tank, and from where the water is drawn or water is supplied to other small and large ponds which are prepared for the growth of specific stage of the fishes in the fish farm, and they are named as hatcheries. So in the diagram you can see the first small type of ponds with a size of about 8 by 4 by 2 or 1.5 feet. These are the hatcheries or the hatching pits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 can be constructed in the fish farm in a series or on one side so as to allow the hatching of the eggs in the hatcheries, and these may be up to 5 in number in a diagram. So hatcheries, and which are supplied with water from the main tank or the stocking tank. Then second type of nursery ponds, which are also constructed on other sides, which are also named as the nurseries 1, 2, 3 or 4. Then so nursery tanks or the ponds are somewhat larger or with a double size of the hatchery ponds. So hatcheries are smaller rectangular ponds or the tanks. Then nurseries are also rectangular but with a more size or double size than that of hatcheries. So nursery ponds with a specific number can also be prepared on one side. And thirdly, the rearing tanks, which are again much longer rearing tanks, can also be prepared in the fish farm on one side in a series or in a row. So in the diagram, one can see the hatcheries, nurseries, rearing tanks, and the main tank. And again, the water which is circulating or flowing from the main tank or the stocking tank can also be supplied either to the hatcheries or to the nurseries or to the rearing tanks, and again which can drain out from other side. So in a right side in a diagram you can see the water again pass out from the stocking pond or the main pond or the tank, and that will be released out from one side. Usually the fish farm with a usually the fish farm is constructed in the area where there is a gentle slope. So ultimately, the inlet pipe will be on uh, the above, and the outlet pipe is a below. So this will lead to the passage of or continuous flow of water from the tanks which are prepared uh, at a topper position. So water will pass or flow from the top side of the fish farm to the uh, low side, top side and low side. So there is a slope, gentle slope to the area of the fish farm. So ultimately, the different type of ponds or the tanks which are constructed with a definite size and are provided with the water supply from the inlet or from the inlet of the water supply, or that can again pass or circulate, and that can flow uh, towards the area below from where it drain out. So this is the uh, diagram showing different type of ponds such as main tank, hatcheries, nurseries, rearing tanks, then inlet and the outlet, and where you can see there is a proper plan for the flowing of the water from top side to the lower side, right? So this is the diagram showing the ideal plan of the fish farm containing hatcheries, nurseries, rearing tank, main tank, or inlet and outlet of the water from the different type of ponds. Then another important point, that is pond maintenance and the management. Pond maintenance and the management. The productivity of the pond depends upon its soil base and can be greatly increased by the following factors: pond maintenance and management, so as to maintain or so as to manage all the activities which are essential for the normal growth and higher fishery production. There requires some activities or some practices which should be done or handled properly, so that there could be a normal pond maintenance and the normal management of the fishes, normal management of the growing fishes in the fish farm. So pond maintenance and the management, these are the different practices or different type of activities which should be done while the growth of the fishes in the fish farm, so as to obtain the maximum or more and more fishery production of the pond culture or the fish culture. The productivity of the pond depends upon its soil base and can be greatly increased by the following factors. So as to increase the productivity of the pond, so as to supply adequate food to the growing fish or for the proper feeding management of the growing fish in the fish farm. So first point is controlling the vegetation. Controlling the vegetation, all the unwanted aquatic plants and the weeds must be removed regularly by using various methods of the control. All the unwanted or undesired aquatic plants and the weeds from the respective ponds or fish farm must removed regularly by using various methods of the control. Then second point, that is cleaning the pond bottom. Cleaning the pond bottom. The pond should be emptied, dried and cleaned at a suitable intervals to maintain its usefulness. So this is a very important point, that is cleaning the pond bottom. The pond should be emptied, dried and cleaned at suitable intervals to maintain its usefulness, or so as to maintain the hygienic conditions in the pond while the normal growth of the growing fish, so as to obtain or so as to maintain and manage the normal growth or the maximum growth of the growing fish in the pond, there should be a cleaning of pond bottom frequently or with a suitable interval. So the pond should be emptied, dried and cleaned at suitable intervals to maintain its usefulness. Then third point, that is liming. The fertility of the pond soil increases the fertility or productivity. The fertility of the pond soil increases, the fertility of the pond soil increases by application of lime, that is quicklime calcium oxide, and is generally used. The fertility of the pond soil increases by the application of lime, that is quicklime or calcium oxide is generally used for the fertility of the pond. Then it raises the pH of the water. The CaO or a lime raises or increases the pH of water and acts as an anti-parasitic substance. Calcium oxide serves as uh, the anti-parasitic substance, and this leads to the increased pH of the water. It also kills bacteria and other fish parasites. The lime also kills the bacteria and other fish parasites. Liming should be done when the pH is low or acidic. Liming should be done when the pH is low or acidic. Soil is too muddy and organic matter is too high. So when soil become muddy or increasing quantity of mud and organic matter in the soil, this will lead to the decreased pH. This leads to the decreased pH or the acidity of the pond get increased. Acidity, pH become low or pH become acidic. This is due to the muddy soil or the muddy soil in the bottom, and the quantity of organic matter is also increased. So this leads to the acidic pH, and a dose of 100 to 200 kilograms per hectare is sufficient. A dose of 100 to 200 kilograms of the lime per hectare is sufficient if liming is done every year regularly. If liming is done every year regularly, then this much quantity, that is 100 to 200 kilograms of the lime, is sufficient to maintain the pH in a water. Then fourth point, that is fertilization. The purpose of fertilization is to increase the productivity by increasing the natural food available. So there are different type of fertilizers. Organic, inorganic fertilizers are added or introduced in the ponds regularly so as to increase the productivity or increased quantity of flora and fauna which will form the food or feed of the fish. So the purpose of fertilization is to increase the productivity. The purpose of fertilization is to increase the productivity by increasing the natural food available. Various inorganic fertilizers can be used. Various inorganic fertilizers can be used. Various inorganic fertilizers or chemical fertilizers can be used, such as superphosphates are used in many countries to raise the production of the fish. Superphosphate, that is P2O5 or phosphorus. Superphosphates are used in many countries to increase the production of the fish. Inorganic nitrogenous fertilizers, such as sodium nitrate, ammonium sulfate, ammonium nitrate, ammonium carbonate, urea are widely used, which causes the increased phytoplankton blooms and heavy growth of the zooplankton. So the main purpose of addition of organic or inorganic fertilizers to increase phytoplankton and zooplankton, and which will form the adequate feed for the normal feeding or proper feeding of the growing fish. So it is essential to add the different type of fertilizers. Organic or inorganic fertilizers should be added regularly in the pond with the consideration of the population density of the fish growing in the respective pond. So different type of organic and inorganic fertilizers, chemical fertilizers can be added in the ponds to increase the productivity of the pond. So inorganic Nitrogenous fertilizers like sodium nitrate, ammonium sulfate, ammonium nitrate, ammonium carbonate, urea are widely used, which cause increased phytoplankton blooms, or which will increase the phytoplankton and heavy growth of the zooplankton. Organic fertilizers like cow and pig dung stimulates the growth of zooplankton and phytoplankton. Organic fertilizers like cow dung or pig dung stimulates the growth of zooplankton and phytoplankton, which increases fish production as they provides nutrients needed in a biological cycle. Other substances such as manures or other substances used as manures, other substances used as manures or the fertilizers are soybean meal, cotton seed meal, mustard cake, etc. Mustard oil cake alone or in combination with the cow dung is extensively used in India for pond fertilization. So these are the different type of organic materials can be used as a manure in the fishery ponds or the fish farm so as to enrich the nutrients, so as to enrich or increase the quality and quantity of the nutrients in the respective ponds, so as to increase the productivity, which will then influence or affecting the growth of the phytoplankton and zooplankton. So ultimately will provide good amount of feed to the growing fishes in the fish farm. In Bengal, green grass along with dry cow dung, poultry manure and oil cake is used for manuring fish ponds. In Bengal, green grass along with dry cow dung, poultry manure and oil cake is used for manuring or fertilization of the fish ponds. Compost is made by dumping manure and vegetable matter in a large pit. A compost is prepared by dumping manure. A compost is prepared or made by dumping manure and vegetable matter in a large pit. The pit is then covered with earth and it is ready for use in a 3 month. A dose of 5000 kg of compost, a dose of 5000 kg means about 5 ton of the compost per hectare gives a rich growth of plankton, right? So dose of 5000 kilograms of the compost per hectare also gives a rich growth of the plankton, that is zooplankton or phytoplankton. So compost type of organic fertilizer with a dose of 5000 kg per hectare per year can also be used for the fertilization of the ponds. Then next is artificial feeding. Fish production can be increased. Fish production can be increased by supplying artificial feed. Fish production can be increased by artificial feeding. The whole grain, flour, rice, rice bran, oil cake, and kitchen waste are generally used as a fish food. Fish production can be increased by using or uh, by supplying the artificial feeding, that is the whole grain food grain, the whole grain, that is whole food grain, then flour, then rice bran, oil cake, and kitchen waste are generally used as a artificial feed to the fishes in the fish farm. Fish meal, meat and blood. Fish meal, meat and blood is also useful. The food can be kept in a baskets or spread on the water. The food can be kept in baskets or spread on the water. And the last point, that is fishing or harvesting. Fishing or harvesting, last point of the pond management, pond maintenance and the management. The last point is fishing or harvesting. So this is done by draining the pond or netting. The harvesting or catching of the fish, the harvesting or the catching of the fish from the respective pond is done either by draining the pond or by using the nets of different type. So fishing or harvesting or fishing or catching or harvesting the fish is done by draining the pond, by draining, that is removing the pond water, by draining or removing the pond water, or netting by using the nets. By draining, harvesting is complete. By draining, harvesting is complete and predators can be eliminated. Less labor is required. Labor is required and the pond can be dried, cleaned, repaired and soil enriched by fertilization. So this activity can be managed at a time. So while draining the pond, harvesting is complete, predators can be eliminated, less labor is required for harvesting, and the pond can be dried, then cleaned, then repaired, or soil enriched by the fertilizers. So all these activities can be done at a time. Harvesting together with a cleaning, then repairing, fertilization. So all these activities can be done while harvesting of the fish by using the draining method, by using the method that is draining the pond water for the purpose of harvesting. But all water is lost by draining. So all these activities can be managed, but water is lost, total water will be removed from the pond. So this will be a water loss. However, if the ponds are constructed in a row, loss of water can be avoided and ponds are drained by turns, that is one by one, right? So this is what about the fishing or harvesting and different activities which could be practiced while the uh, maintenance or management of the ponds in the fish farm. So this is what about the culture methods. This is about the culture methods of the freshwater farms such as labio, katla, and brugal. So today with this we'll stop here and next time we'll continue the third topic. Thank you.